Welcome back to the stories of Kcymaerxthaere. And we talked last week about the flora and fauna, and we even talked a bit about this creature called the Nacien. And I wanted to follow up on that just a little bit more before we go on to some of the new creatures we're going to talk about. And that the Nacien is the seven-legged deer-like creature, and I shared with you this beautiful carved wooden Nacien that was done by a wood carver in Armenia, what we call Armenia. But this is another disputed likeness of a Nacien. And this one was done by the women of Pinduka. And it's also a disputed likeness. And what is beautiful about the whole disputed likeness project is that it leaves room for all of our visualizations. We see what one person visualized, but we can visualize our own. It's kind of like when you see the movie of a book that you liked or didn't like, and you argue with your friends about whether it's true to the book, movie's true to the book, or the actors, the way you imagine that character. And I love that ambiguity, and I think that it exists in lots of places. And part of the storytelling of Kcymaerxthaere is to invite you to create your own visualizations of the stories that we're telling. And hopefully, over the course of this project, these stories, you'll even contribute your own disputed likenesses to the community. So one of the creatures that's also quite beloved in Kcymaerxthaere is the RockMary Lizard. And RockMary Lizards are a little bit famous because they're one of the only telepathic lizards. It really can read just about anyone's mind. And as a result, hunters are not really big fans of them because they also can be a little bit playful. And so they will sit around in the forest or in the scrub, and they'll see the hunter, getting focused, getting his or her aim going. And then at the last moment, just as they read the hunter's mind that they're going to pull the trigger or whatever, all of a sudden the RockMary Lizard will make a noise and distract the deer or whoever it is, and they'll run away. So they are not universally popular, but they are wonderful pets. Very empathetic, very loyal, very much bringing beautiful energy into their families. There's also a plant that I rather like, and it's called an Iolwa. And the thing about an Iolwa is that it's one of the acoustophytes. It's an acoustophytic flower, which means that it lives on sound. And there are many different kinds of acoustophytic flowers, but this one is especially, I think, refined, you might say, which is that because it lives on the sound of echoes. And it only does it one season of the year, season 14, and it's very, very, very lovely, and it's very, very rare, but amazing if you get a chance to see it. Then I want to tell you about another kind of creature, organism, whatever you want to say, and this is a little bit tricky. Not all the creatures of Kcymaerxthaere are quite so easy to connect with our world, because it is, after all, a parallel world. And the creature is called the Ryjansk shape. And that little line, the snevlefs, represents the sound zh. It's pronounced zh in many cultures in Kcymaerxthaere. So Ryjansk shapes come into being, are born, if you will, at a certain moment. And that's the moment when a creature, usually humans, but not always, when you're about to draw on a piece of paper, pen or pencil, and the moment that you visualize, say, a square, that's what you're going to draw. So you imagine in your mind that square. At that moment, that visualization comes alive, and it's actually an organism. And it's called the Ryjansk shape. And they're quite amazing, very hard to keep, but they are remarkable creatures with very special qualities. In fact, some people, even in our linear world, worry that these creatures are becoming rarer as people become more digital and less hands-on in terms of their sketching and whatnot. But the Ryjansk shape is one of the many of the menagerie of creatures that you're going to encounter in the stories of Kcymaerxthaere. And finally, I made a promise. The promise was to explain the term Shóaf Kepl Poets. And that was the toast I gave. And I really love this toast, but its origin is important. And the origin is it comes from a language known as a 158. And 158s, you can basically say, are languages where words are numbers and numbers are words. So what's kind of great about that is that in cultures that speak 158s, the poets just have to write equations. and they do so with great beauty and alacrity. And accountants, on the other hand, have to write a whole novella just to do a single invoice. It's quite a nice turn of events, you might say. And so, Shóaf Kepl Poets would be written by somebody who is writing that language as 141148. But it's not the numbers 141148, although it can be. It's actually 14 of anything, 11 of anything, 48 of anything, because they're so good. When they come into a room, they instantly know the number of everything in that room. They would know the number of everything on this wall behind me and everything in front of me, which is a bit of a mess. So the toast means, I dream of good health to you and all who will be born because you have lived. And I really love that toast. I love that toast because it captures the way that as a community, as a culture, as families, as extended families, as adopted families, as found families, we all bring ourselves forward into the new world. So we'll return soon with some new stories of Kcymaerxthaere. Thanks.